I wanted a place for people to receive authentic guidance and practical ways to awaken. Thought-provoking, paradigm-shifting, and empowering. This is about expanding our human consciousness to create a wave of new possibilities. I'm Dr. Theresa Bullard-Whyke, and this is Quantum Minds TV. Welcome back to Quantum Minds TV, where we take a deep dive into various perspectives on what it's going to take to create a shift in human consciousness. In this episode, we're continuing the conversation with Drs. JJ and Desiree Hurtak. So we're bringing the whole brain state. We're uniting the brain and the heart, right, through that more heart coherent state. And then we also have the other brain, which is the brain inside the gut. And, there's just as many, glia cells and, the serotonin levels in our body are produced within the gut, which then inform the moods and so forth in the brain. And we know also from the vagus nerve, for example, that the parasympathetic nervous system, is very much controlled by, and that 80% of the information flows upstream from the gut and the heart up to the brain rather than downstream from the brain down. So we need to really get in touch with our, what is our heart feeling and what is our gut feeling, and bring, that can tie back into our intuition when we think of those sort of gut feelings, and the stillness, and if we just bring the breath in, for example, if people are wanting ways to connect to higher states of consciousness, for example, we mentioned music, right? But there's also the breath. And we know that chanting or singing or even humming, when we use our vocal cords, it vibrates certain, bones within the ear, which then stimulate the vagus nerve, which then stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which then, helps bring us into a coherent state again, or a more restful state. And then you mentioned the chanting of divine names. I mean, and ancient sacred mantras and so forth. Like, these are ancient technologies from the wisdom traditions for how we can access those higher states of consciousness. It's just that we have to do more work and take responsibility for it versus trying to take a shortcut and just having it done to us.
Yes, the vagus system connects with the spinal column, and the human biocomputer is energized through the prana, or the breath, that's processed through the use of mantras.
Yes, we totally believe that you can use mantras from the east or the north or the south. Om is a vibrational frequency. Om mani padme om. All these actually help to enhance the brain. And I just want to say, as much as the gut is important, I realize that the gut is really controlling a lot of systems in your brain frequency. I also want to point out that there's pyramidal cells in the brain, which are also three-sided, so to speak, that really are pyramidal cells. They don't like to say that word, that are part of this resonant vibration. So we believe the whole body, in many ways, the blood system, the brain system, the heart system, of course, connected with the blood, are receptor cells.
Mm-hmm. And even the DNA.
Consciousness.
Even the DNA, right?
Even the DNA.
Right. Yeah. There's a template that is orchestrated by these pyramidal cells that Dr. Thompson at UC Irvine in Southern California pointed out many years, deals with the flexibility of the brain to entertain and to receive more information and process it.
So we really are vibratory frequencies. And I would say, in a summary of the process that we use for meditation, one could then use the names, like many Eastern traditions talk about, like the Om Mani Padme Om, bring that energy in. You're calling forth to the highest levels, or the Christ consciousness. You can use the name Christ, 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 whichever you want to use, whatever your tradition is. You're calling in that energy, and then be there with the still small voice to receive, to heal your body. Let that energy also heal you, both physically, emotionally, consciously, clear yourself with the energy fields that you've gathered throughout the day, go back into your true higher self. We believe, actually, we've done a whole book called Over Self Awakening, because we believe that you actually have this higher self, which is there also helping you. It's not always just other beings out there. You have a higher presence that's actually trying to get through to you on a daily basis as well. And then use your physical reality to send that energy out to the planet. Your consciousness reality, if you will, if you're just sitting in one place, send that energy out to the planet. So bring the energy in from the highest source you can, listen, learn, and then send that energy out. And really, you do that daily, your whole life changes. I had a friend that said to me, at one point she was married, she had her job, everything was going on. She knew what she was doing wasn't right. There was something wrong. She said, I really want to help humanity no matter what it is. Within 6 months, her entire life shifted. And it really makes a difference. You just have to put it out there really from the heart, not from the intellect. That's not going to work. From the heart, I really want to be in a place where I can help humanity, and then go with the flow. Don't block.
That's a moment in our lives that in the mystery school tradition I've studied with that we call self-initiation, that we are initiating ourselves to be a contributing member in a more positive way to the collective of humanity. And that point is a pivotal point that anyone who's on a spiritual journey, no matter what path they follow, they probably hit that point of time in their lives where they said, I know there's more to life than this. I know there's a higher purpose or something greater that I can be doing. There's more to me, and I am going to now commit myself to that journey of discovering that, to playing an active role in that, to making it a priority in my life. And when we self-initiate like that, it is a turning point in our lives. Things will very rapidly start to change and put us on a new path. But as you say, it can't just be a mental thing. It's got to really come from the heart. It's got to come from the depths of our being to say, this has to change, and I'm ready to be that change. I'm ready to start making this a priority. And I love how you both have created these tools, through meditation and music, of course, your books, you have your visual meditations as well. How you bring in the sound, bring in the sacred chants, and as ways to support people in reaching those higher states of consciousness. I've actually done some similar things. I have a whole series of albums that I, collaborated with a musician on to create called Kabbalah Chants, and it's working with all the divine names of the Tree of Life, and tuned into the frequencies that correspond with each part of the tree. So it's a series of 11 different meditations, and these divine names are very powerful. And as we even just listen to them, but also especially as we then chant them, they create such a shift within us that you can experience, that more expanded consciousness and a higher high than any drug could possibly give you. And it's natural, meaning it's endogenous. It's something you created within yourself. The power's within you. We just need the right keys, the right knowledge, and the right applications, the ways of applying that knowledge. Knowledge is all within, as you said, JJ. It's all within us. And yet it's like a process of remembering what we already know. It's a process of reawakening to the knowledge and the wisdom that is within. And I have found that studying the ancient mysteries and the ancient wisdom teachings and learning the practices of these ancient traditions, especially, more from a higher kind of way, like a higher energy way, a hermetic way, or a Kabbalistic way, where it's beyond just shamanism. I think shamanism has its place, but there's higher dimensions that we can reach through other methods that we want to now be reaching, especially to create this leap in collective consciousness that we are poised to make and that we really need to make because we are at a critical time on the planet. So
yes, I wanted to add, if I could jump
yes,
in.
please.
As social scientists and musicologists, Desiree and I had the opportunity to work with indigenous people in South Africa, in the jungles of Brazil, in Guatemala, Mexico, and throughout the world. And we've always noted in the sociological plan that there was a healing center or a musical center, usually as a temple or as an ashram or as a divine circle through which the vibrations would be sublimated and then sent out as tributaries in a variety of directions. And this was the language of music and paraphysics that allowed the ancient to maintain a cohesiveness, a coherency, and a higher communication signal, much like what we see in the insect world or even with the animals who can communicate with sound waves that we don't properly understand. Certainly, the dolphins have this ability, but we are able to harness now by our biofeedback studies and musical studies with leading musicologists the fact that the ancients, by and large, and the movements of thought considered the world of humanity as a co-participant in a divine process. And this is through musical / vibratory induction. There are many schools of thought that have separated science and the rigors of science from the musical thought patterns. But now, here in the 21st century, thanks to your work and others like you, we're beginning to see the cohesiveness of a great mosaic of life that's been overlooked.
Let's take a pause from this fascinating conversation to enjoy a quick consciousness break.
And just to bring this full circle, going back to Bohm and to the whole understanding, yeah, wisdom is also within us, but actually all wisdom is around us and outside of us. And in a certain sense, we are biotransducers. So if we open our consciousness thoughts and say, I need this information, or this is what we need to help humanity, that information can be and will be available both from our higher self and from the cosmic others who are there trying to help this planet. There are many beings trying to help, but we have to be the ones, we're the physical beings, we're the ones making it happen, positively or negatively.
Exactly. And I think that is very true, with one caveat, that we have to be ready to serve with that knowledge, right? We can't just say, I need it now, I want it now because I want it, right? It's not for selfish purpose. It's we're on a need to know basis. And if it helps us in our life to move forward in our purpose and progression, and or if we're going to use it to serve humanity and this collective shift, then it will come. Then those doors will be opened, and we knock and we receive. But it's the intention around what do we need that knowledge for, I think, that is very important. And, if I can also, JJ, just coming back to your comments about the temples and the vibratory chambers that were used in ancient times, I would also add to that many of these ancient sites and temples were put upon ley lines, power spots, where when they, not only did they create and construct the chamber that was a resonant chamber to be able to amplify the sounds that were generated by the people within it, but it was also then, vibrating into the ley lines of the earth and sent all around the globe. And, this is why we see at so many places where the magnetic lines of the earth come into a nexus point. We see these ancient sacred sites often. So I love, like, for example, with the Aborigines, they talked about listening to the song lines and then the star lines, that there was the song lines of the earth, and they listen to those and follow those, and they drum and didgeridoo and work with those. And then there's also the star lines of the stars and the tracks that they made across the sky.
Right. So just like the ancient Mayans had the understanding of the stars being in key places of the universe. And I believe that that's true when you look at Orion, the Pleiades, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor. I mean, these geometries are all unique. I mean, they're there for us to observe and enjoy. But there's also similar matrix grid points upon the earth, and they align with the stars. Actually, there was a young 15-year-old from Canada, and he went to the Canadian Space Authority, and he goes, I know why all these pyramids are in the Yucatan. And he aligned them with the stars, a 15-year-old. And he even says one's missing. Well, a corner of Orion was missing. And he looked, and they said, yes, there's something there. I mean, they're all part of a grid alignment. The Keys of Enoch, Dr. Hurtak's initial book, actually talks about this back in terms of the natural and artificial time warps and the whole unfoldment of life in terms of vortex points around the planet.
And we have the opportunity with ENA, which is the Scientific Institute of Studies of Anthropology in Mexico, to do the systematic study of musical quavers and semiquavers within the major pyramids of Yucatan Peninsula, showing that there's a vibratory matrix that matches the pyramids we studied also in Egypt and also in China. So the ancients throughout the world knew that there was a basic musical vibratory vocabulary that they built their temples on. And when one would enter into these, we would call them energy fields, consciousness could be cultivated into high artistic and mystical states of collective awareness.
So we took computers into the sound chambers, like deep into the Palenque pyramid. We've actually done it also in pyramids in Egypt. And we've actually recorded the overtones and in some cases the undertones, which I believe actually takes us into alpha and theta frequency waves. But for example, for sound, if you actually take one of these room frequencies and then you go next door and they've been pasted over because they've had a repair, you lose the frequency vibration, which is interesting.
The original building materials were used for the vibratory nature. And this is in our new book called Giza's Industrial Complex, to show that the ancients in Egypt actually understood mathematics and use of hydraulics in a much higher way and sense than we have previously imagined.
In so many ways. I mean, I've had this experience as well, especially in Egypt, as well as in I've been to Palenque and many of the Yucatan. And it is an incredible experience when you step inside one of those chambers, especially when it's still 100% intact from its, original state and materials versus it's been altered in some way or partly destroyed in some way. But when you step inside one of these chambers that are intact, and then you bring forward, the sounds, and especially when you know how to achieve like the right harmonics and overtones and undertones, I mean, it is an altering experience because it's such a, everything within you vibrates, and one person's voice sounds like, a whole chorus because there's all of this reverberation and resonance that happens within those chambers. Without a doubt, they were very aware of what they were doing. They were very precise in how they were building their temples. And they were very much harnessing sound technology as an integral part of their tradition and their initiatory processes. And, however they were working with the galactic energies as well as the earth energies. And it's an amazing time on the planet where we have the remnants of these ancient technologies still today that we can see, and yet even with our modern science we can't repeat it. So that brings up the question of where did these ancient technologies and knowledge come from?
Absolutely. The Great Pyramid, we really cannot build it. Many people say that. Yeah, maybe you can put brick upon brick upon brick. Or
The Japanese try to do it with modern technology.
we have that actually on our YouTube channel. The Nippon Corporation tried to, but you're not including the small star shafts or air shafts, as some people call them, which go all the way up. You're not including the weight of the big stones.
And the material itself, right?
80 tons up in the highest places where we don't even have cranes that can reach that kind of construction right today.
They kind of were used by UNESCO to move the statues along the Nile.
So, I mean, we do believe that there was some unique energies, and the mathematics certainly is from the top down. That's what we often say. Yes, it may have been sound. We were part of Dr. Hurtak was actually part of a film that was, I believe, NBC, was it? Mystery of the Sphinx. And they talked about sound frequency vibrations, but certainly certain types of wave frequencies probably were used, at least in some part, to construct the massive stones that were there.
So the Great Pyramid is considered of the Bible in stone by some metaphysicians because the mathematical calculations, the different vibratory sounds that were captured in each of the chambers represent basically the different circulatory pathways of the human heart, the human body system, and also the human induction system of music. And so we have a perfect model of how the human body from the inside would work in the calculation of sound movement.
But we don't even go there to say who built it. We actually just say, wow, the building is fabulous. And the sound frequencies you get in the King's Chamber are amazing. It really puts you into these altered states. And many people have done meditations in there. I don't know.
The seven wonders of the ancient world represent really the seven chakras or seals, energy points of our body, where the paraphysical, the astrophysical, the biophysical all converge to the heartbeat. And again, this is going back to heart math of why we need to be heart-centered in our new science of the future. For without love, without compassion for humanity, the game of life is just numbers or abstract concepts. That's the interweaving that we have before us. We're living in a tremendous time of the finding of the microcosmos within us, the macrocosmos around us, and the temple or tabernacle of the human spirit as Holy Spirit when we become holistic.
That's beautifully said. And so I think that brings us to a really good place that ties everything together that we have been discussing. And, you said before, we are, citizens of the future. And ultimately, we even maybe have a destiny to become citizens of the galaxy and to venture out into space beyond this Earth. And so, we want to really see ourselves as cosmic beings, in addition to celestial, in addition to terrestrial. We're all of these levels of being. So do you have any final messages that you would like to leave people with, to give them that sense of hope for the future, as well as how they can be active participants in playing a part in this shift in collective consciousness?
Well, as you said, we are multidimensional beings. We can experience right now life in or experiencing thoughts happening in the 8th dimension, according to Elizabeth Rauscher. She called it 8th space. So we can go into the future, we can go into the past, we can go into other planetary systems or parts of the cosmos. This is who we are. We just need to tap into that. But we are also cosmic citizens in a vast and awesome universe. And yes, I believe at this time, the quarantine is being lifted for the whole planet, and we will be going into contact or having contact, making contact with other levels of intelligence, other cosmic beings, other extraterrestrial beings who will introduce us to other realms. Now, the thing is, they don't want us there. If we're going to bring our nuclear weapons, if we're going to bring our negativity there, that's why we've been quarantined. If we're ready to change, we can go forward.
We are part of the galactic universe. We are part of a living universe. We are part of a divine universe. It is all within us, but also surrounding us. And in the balance of the greater with the inner, the lesser with the greater, the cosmic dance of life continues. So we realize that we are co-creators. We are Homo universalis, rediscovering itself. Homo meaning humanity, universalis meaning universe. We are a living demonstration of the divine spark in human form.
Beautifully said. That is so capturing the essence of that as above, so below, as below, so above, as the inner, so the outer, as the outer, so the inner. And yet it was so poetic the way you just conveyed that to us. So thank you. And I think that that is a perfect place to conclude our conscious conversation. So thank you so much, both of you. This has been such an amazing and mind expanding and dynamic and highly intelligent conversation. You both have so much wisdom and so much experience to share. And I'll look forward to future conversations with you as well. So everyone, thank you to
And also, just one word, Ad Astra to the stars. That's our motto, because we are living again in a fantastic time of rediscovering the higher evolution, the blueprint of life, which is within our human heartbeats. With love and gratitude to all of you, thank you so much for having us, Theresa, as your guest.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of this conscious conversation with Drs. JJ and Desiree Hurtak. And thank you again so much for joining me and for sharing your vast experience and insight with all of us.
This conscious conversation was created, produced, and recorded by Dr. Theresa Bullard-Whyke in collaboration with Drs. JJ and Desiree Hurtak, and edited by Verse Content and HH Films and Photo. The theme music was created by Tim Mountain of Even Load Productions. Quantum Minds TV is a product of the Quantum Learning Academy.